A good clinician in the future will be ready with good information and curiosity about their patients. Do you agree with that or not? Or do you have a different view? That's what I think good care looks like. So my name is Glyn Elwyn and I work at Dartmouth College in the United States. By background, I'm a family doctor, but for the last few years, I've been doing research into shared decision-making. Shared decision-making, I think, is increasingly popular in healthcare because people are beginning to realize that patients are looking for and finding much more information about treatment choices. But now, with the development of artificial intelligence, people are doing even more searching online for information, and they are finding very good information about treatment choices and diagnosis even. So when they come to see doctors, they are already pretty well informed, more informed than they were in the past. And so people are asking, what about this treatment compared to that treatment? And so that's where shared decision-making becomes very important for clinicians to know about. Yeah, that is always traditionally how healthcare has been, right? You go to the doctor, you recognize that they are experts, and you look for advice and recommendations. But I think that's changing. As I mentioned, people are searching for more information and they are finding very good information about how things compare. And so shared decision-making is much more about the clinician recognizing that patients want to know more information and they also want to be listened to about what they think. So the work of shared decision-making for a doctor is to do a couple of things. First of all, recognize that the person has views and may want to have their views heard. Secondly, I think they need to bring evidence from science into the visit, right? So they need to be very well informed themselves about how to compare treatments. So clinicians need to blend science with their experience as experts, but they also need to be curious about what the patient thinks. And then their job is to put all that together to say, for you, your family and your preferences, and what I know about science, this is what the best decision is. And this is what I think would be best for you, and then check with the patient, do you agree with that or not? Or do you have a different view? So it means that clinicians have to be less like gods and more like humans who talk to other humans and understand their preferences. And that's a very big change. And I think if you have short visits, then that's very difficult. I think this whole field, and it's been around for about 20 years, we were always saying to doctors, hey, you could communicate better with your patients. You could do more work to give them more information. But we're always kind of saying, it's your problem that you're not communicating well. But interestingly, over the last year or so, I think we have begun to recognize that if you do this well, you're probably going to feel better about your own practice. You're going to feel like a better professional, more self-fulfilled, more self-esteem. And interestingly, when we interviewed a lot of doctors who were doing shared decision-making, they said to me, you know, I feel less at risk of moral injury, of doing things to my patients or recommending things to my patients that I don't feel comfortable about. And so because I'm doing that, I feel less burnout. I feel I'm behaving as a more ethical practitioner. And I think they benefited a lot by that. They did say, actually, that it takes a little bit more time, but if they invest the time now and get to know their patients well, they benefit in the long run by being more efficient. I have to be honest, I think it's pretty difficult actually to do it in very short visits because there are a few tasks involved. One of the ways to make this more efficient would be to say to patients, I have information for you before you come into my room. And this is the use of tools that prepare patients for taking part in decisions. And that work can be done by somebody who says to the patient, you are going to see the clinician, but we want you to understand this information before you go in. that can make that visit more efficient. And more importantly, perhaps, to stop speaking and to say to the patient, what are your views? I want to hear your views. And patients normally are very reluctant to speak and to say what they think. So that needs an added relationship with the patient where they think you are really interested in what they have to say. There's a phrase that when we studied shared decision-making in the United Kingdom when I was still there, we noticed that actually giving patients more information and knowledge doesn't give them power, right? So the best thing a patient can do is to become younger by 10 or 20 years, right? Because younger people are more assertive, right? They ask more questions, they have grown up in an information age. And so I think we can tell patients to say, ask more questions, be more ready to say your views. But people who have grown up respecting the expertise of the clinicians, they are not going to change, not so much. What we really need to do is to say to clinicians, be really curious about your patient's views and let them know that you're not going to abandon them to make tough decisions on their own. You're going to help them, but make them really insist that they want to hear their views. So I think we can prepare patients to some degree, but really it's the job of the clinician to make sure that this happens, right? Yeah. That's such a tough question, right? Because the current system rewards being fast, right? And doing things in a short amount of time. If the argument is this is going to take a little bit more time, we need a health system that allows more time. But I also think that we need a health system that really values this process, right? That says to a clinician, hey, we know that you are doing this well. You are bringing evidence to the visit. You are practicing according to scientific principles, but you're also interested in your patient and your patient's family views. So we need a system, I think, that measures the degree to which they do these tasks. And interestingly enough, because we are now able to record many visits and actually recording from the visit into a transcription, and it helps the doctor put the information in the computer, we may be able to use that digital information to measure whether people are doing shared decision-making. So in fact, we are at a point where we might use digital information to measure whether this engagement and involvement of patients is actually happening. It may take a few years, but I think doctors may have to face the reality that somebody will be watching over their shoulder as to what they are doing. South Korea has become already quite interested in this topic, right? So I'm meeting a lot of people who've thought a lot about this, they've done research in it, and they're already doing some research in this area. I want to answer their questions, and I want to probably say, this is what's ahead of you. This is what the society is really changing and maybe asking for. So a good clinician in the future will be ready with good information and curiosity about their patients. So I don't think healthcare is going to look the same in 10 or 20 years.